What's up, you guys? You requested it. Today I'm going to be showing you how Kettama, an interplanetary criminal, made Yosemite. The link to this project file and the samples are at the top of the description on my website. Make sure to grab that so you can follow along and you can build your own track with this. Thanks for the support, guys, and let's get started. Alright, so we're at 146 BPM, and the first thing we got is the drums. So it starts with this huge hard house kick up here. It's a big 909 style kick. I've got it. I tuned it as well to the bass line so they fit really well together. Right, you can hear if we take it back out of tune, it doesn't even punch as much. So always tune your kick. Then we got our main hi-hat and clap, kind of like right on top. Pretty simple, but I think it's more about the sample selection. Just like, you know, this really short hi-hat here. It's not like a big open hi-hat. It's like this short punchy groove. We got some loops as well, like some house loops and a breakbeat. Just really adding some high end, you can hear. They're all super high passed, and we got a bit of auto pan to sidechain them. Right, like there's not really much mid-range in these, but they just give you a lot of energy in the track. And they kind of blend with the other drums too. Like maybe if you didn't have those, you would turn these up a little louder. But then if you hear them all together, it kind of all becomes one thing. Last drum we have here is just this crash. Right, it's doing that classic sort of house thing where it's like every 4 bars or so. This is just being high passed. Very important with these crashes because they can add a lot of low end to your mix and a lot of mud. And then we got a little bit of reverb. Then we got the bass line. So what's going on here is it seems super complicated, especially when you hear the original. What's happening is actually a very basic chord progression. We're in F minor, we're going F, A sharp minor, G sharp major, C sharp major, and then the A sharp minor, G sharp major again. So we're basically going root 4 3 6 4 3. There's a lot of symmetry to it. But then what makes it seem complicated is all of these, you know, jumping up to these higher eighth notes here where it's like down, 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 down. My best advice for that is just using notes that you're kind of already using. Like you can see here, okay, over here is G sharp, and then we're going A, and then another G sharp up here. It's not notes that, it's not like it's just random notes. It's just the same notes that you're kind of already using for all these bass notes, and then just using those to create that pattern. And like I said, it's like an eighth note groove. You usually have like something that holds out for a while, and then it's dong, 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 dong. You know, it's like that sort of eighth note feel. As far as the sound goes on this one, it's one oscillator of the saw and wavetable. Plus I got the sub oscillator as well. The tone's all the way up on that, but then we've got a low pass here. So here's with that. It's like this super tear out Reese. And then yeah, we're low passing it. We got unison, but then since we have the sub oscillator, you're still getting like a kind of standard, you know, sub bass there. Then we have some notch filtering. So this is really good for that kind of Reese that we're trying to get here. If I turn it off, there's a bit too much mid-range. Like when I heard the original, it has that really hollow sort of UK bass kind of feel. And yeah, the notch is the perfect way to do that. You're just notching out all those mid-range frequencies and then keeping the lows. We got a little bit of saturation here. Here's without it. With it. We got this auto pan to sidechain it to the kick. And then we're converting the bass to mono with utility. Then we have the pad. Which is playing the exact same chord progression that I just showed you on that bass. It's F minor, A sharp minor, G sharp major, and then the C sharp, right? But what I've done here is I've taken the chords. We got root 5 3, so you're kind of like inverting them, and it makes it a bit more epic. It also helps you hear the notes in the chords, right? If I bring that down, kind of blends a bit more. Bringing it up, It's just a lot more epic and sort of triumphant sounding. That's what I would say with this pad is you really want it to be like triumphant in this track, right? It just sits and it helps establish that chord progression really well, especially when you have like these stabs that I'm about to show you, which are just kind of playing that same note. This kind of gives you something in the highs that helps establish the chords. Now what we're doing here is we get this transformations wavetable plus a square wave. You can see the first one's moving a little bit, and they're at the same octave, but they're detuned a bit. Then, yeah, you can see that LFO on the oscillator position there. I've got this classic unison with the voices on 4, but the amount's at 0. So you're getting like a tiny bit of it. If I turn it off, you can hear the difference when it's on and off, but it's like not the most crazy in-your-face detune. I've got a bit of echo, which is, you can see I've got the left and right ear at 2 different times, so it really helps to spread the sound out. I've got a bit of reverb, which is pretty long and it's 100% wet, so if you turn that down a bit, you can see. Right, it's what really gives it that washed out sort of watery pad feel. This is being auto-pan sidechained, and then we have a high-pass filter. Then we got the stabs. So what's going on here is we're layering a piano against these. Kind of classic, hard groovy, hard house sort of stabs, right? Now the piano is playing an F minor chord, but it's inverted kind of weird because we're doing 3, 5, root 3. So you're getting that F minor, right? That's the key we're in. But the inversion gives it a little bit of a different feel. You kind of get some like major vibes because of that, right? If I take this back up, it's not quite the same thing. It has a lot more depth with those notes much lower. So this is just this piano, and then I've got it being auto-pan sidechained. Then for the stabs, we're layering. So we got this one, which kind of gives you some impact. That's being high-pass and auto-pan sidechain. And then this one gives you the body, which has a bit of reverb and stuff, but you can see that on its own doesn't really have the punch, so you put them together. And it makes one stab, and then you put it with the piano. And also, musically, the piano, that minor chord is kind of reacting to what these are doing, because there's not so much of that minor chord information in theirs, but then they fit together. Also, this is almost a bit percussive, right? And it's very hard house, it's very abrasive, it's just like... It keeps things moving nicely, because without this stuff, you can see... It's obviously a good tune, but I think this gives it, you know, a bit more, like, just intensity. So then we got the lead. So yeah, this is the pattern, right? It just goes dun 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 dun. Again, more of an 8th note groove with this as well. You can see really short, stabby notes. If you make the notes longer, you kind of lose that. It doesn't really feel like the original. So you see, it's not always just how you work with like the envelopes and this crazy synth design. A lot of the sound design just happens in like note length, right? So what's happening here is we're in F minor. We're going on the 3rd, so that already kind of is reacting with that original chord that's happening. Right, and like really establishing the sad minor feel. Then we go root 5, and then here it goes, it's actually the same thing, but the 5th is just up an octave. So it's a bit deceptive. It sounds like different notes, but it's actually just 3 notes the whole time. Right, so it's kind of like you getting a lot of mileage out of just 3 notes. Now for the sound on this one, I made this with analog. I think you could do this with a lot of different synths, but for some reason, the feel of analog really matched what was going on in the original. So we got 2 saw waves, detuned a little bit, no filter. The amp envelope is just this, like a brick, so it's just as long as you play the note, you hear it. The second you let go, you stop hearing it. Then we got the unison, so without that, with it. So you see that like the unison inside of analog for some reason really fit. I also put this on monophonic, We got a little bit of reverb, just kind of short. High pass, and then I actually got rid of I had the auto pan on here, but I think it doesn't really need that. It's like you have that one element that doesn't have it, because if you have too much of it, so you don't really hear that pattern that you hear in the original. So I actually ended up just turning that down. And this basically has no sidechain. Then the last element is the deep house string, but I made this one. Right, using Ableton's tension. So to turn off all the effects, it starts off like this. So what we're doing is we got a high note. It's playing the root note. It's playing F. And then we got this chord, which is giving us an octave down on top of that. So now you're just hearing the note plus the note an octave down. This is the tension patch. So yeah, it's just using the string exciter to kind of create like a similar string sort of sound. I don't think this thing is amazing. You can't really get like a really realistic string just straight out of it. Although it does give you something that's nice because it's a bit more uneven than just using like a saw wave or a square wave or a sine wave. So we're doing that, which sounds like alright, but then I've got a lot of reverb on it. And that's where it really becomes that string sound, right? So you can use the reverb together with synths to create these kind of famous deep house strings without really having to like just get a sample or the M1 or whatever, right? So we got this auto pan, not that much sidechain, but a little bit. And then we're high passing it. I think it's important because that reverb can add a lot of low end. And there we are. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more remakes like this and which ones you want to see. Like I said, you can grab this right at the top of the description. Thank you for the support, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.